visiting the media covering that, and for what have you achieved there? So I think I would not like to carry on with what I would like to salute our troops. Our troops have been brilliant then and even today. The young officers, senior officers, see the messages that are coming that need to take care of our younger generations and the future of today, for future of tomorrow, for soldiers to be motivated and upfront and bring the necessary results that are expected. Thank you.
You want me to say something?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Okay, just to add on to what Brigadier Rajiv Williams has said, I'll just put it in one perspective. Having been a 1971 war veteran myself, war as a subaltern on the Eastern Front and on the Western Front, then I've been a brigade commander during the Kargil conflict. My brigade deployed on the Western Front for a possible outbreak of war across the whole nation. One of my regiments fought at Tiger Hill, an artillery regiment. And as someone has already brought out, I think Kargil demonstrated sheer grit, determination, and raw courage on part of the infantry officers who actually led the assault in 15, 16, 19, and 20,000. But our gunners were also with them as forward observation officers. I must say here, one of mine also, Captain Gildial. He's today commanding an infantry brigade. He was a forward observation officer with one of the companies. The company commander got killed. My officer, this young man, took over and led the assault and not only captured that feature, but he was told to push ahead and capture another feature 1,500 feet above with nearly 40% casualties in the infantry company and in the artillery party. The second attack also within 6 hours was successful and the feature was captured. My regiment earned 5 gallantry awards, 1 UISN, 1 Veer Chakra, and the balance was Sena medals. A lot of people were killed in action. Gildial still has a bullet in his right hand and cannot salute. An excellent officer, so I'll swear by him. That's number one. Number two is there is definitely a difference between what we fought in the 71 war. We had no communications and not the facilities which we had during the Kargil conflict. During the Kargil front conflict, let me remind the listeners here, you had artillery en masse, you the fire support in case war had been declared on the entire front, like in 1971. I don't think we could have amassed so much of concentrated artillery fire, especially the Bofors. Third part is, as we switch on from Kargil to Operation Sindoor, I entirely agree with Brigadier Rajiv Williams. Sindoor, I'm a retired veteran now. I realize it's more of a non-contact battle. Even the aerial combat will be not like the dogfights which I witnessed in 71 over my gun position. I had the great opportunity to blindfold the two enemy pilots in 71. But today, the standoff firing range and the manner in which the Operation Sindoor was conducted exhibits, demonstrates definitely that the non-contact battle or the non-aerial combat battle is now gaining supremacy. However, let me remind the listeners here and the viewers that you will still require boots on ground to capture, and it will not only be cyber warfare or a AI warfare or a warfare where troops will not come into contact. Let's get that very clear. A message has come out that it's only the Air Force, the Air Defense Artillery, and the artillery which has reigned supreme. This is a temporary thing which happened in Sindoor 1.0. Let me give full credit to the infantry, the armored corps, the artillery, and the engineers. They will continue to play a great role. On ground is what will ultimately matter in victory to the nation. Let's get that very clear. As far as Sindoor 2.0 is concerned, well, it's an ongoing process that has been brought out. And as one of the generals mentioned earlier, or I think Ambassador Prakash, yes, there are many lapses. And as Brigadier Rajiv Williams brought out, I have, I think, read his article. He's absolutely right. We need to introspect our deficiencies and move out of this opaque syndrome and come out with what has actually happened. There is no harm in putting across. I've seen the 71 war. I know what happened. I've been a brigade commander during the Kargil conflict. I know what happened. So it's time the whole nation gets to know what exactly happened and also to know that finally in Sindoor 1.0, we have emerged victorious, irrespective of whatever narratives are projected to the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brigadier Apte. We've been also joined by the number of participants just crossed 88. And now that means I need to really apologize, first of all. 1988 batch, IPS, former DGBSF, a dear family friend, Pankaj Singh is on board, the former deputy NSA, National Security Advisor. I mean, he just, came out of that tough, employment a few days back. Who better to speak about the security and India's sensitivity towards, salvaging its own self-respect internally as well as externally. The man who knows the entire stuff from the closest possible quarters, Mr. Pankaj Singh. Over to you, Pankaj ji. Guys, you're listening to a very important voice now. Mr. Pankaj Singh, former DGPSF, and also, and he is, by the way, also the son of Prakash Singh ji, the father of police reforms, who is also there on the show with us. It's a unique situation wherein we have these two greats together on the same show. Pankaj ji, some problem with your audio?
Mara.
Some problem with the audio?
Tim.
No problem. Take your time. Take your time. Let me bring in General Huda, Surgical Strikes Commander-in-Chief, the man who knows when Mr. Modi announced, Ghuske marenge, will enter, retaliate, and teach them a lesson. General Huda, over to you.
Swami, thank you very much. Great galaxy of speakers here. So humbled to be a part of them. I want to talk about, two issues of Kargil and take them forward to, I think, the lessons that we can apply today. The first point I want to make is, Kargil in some ways was, I think, perhaps the most challenging time for the Indian Army. We had been surprised. This extent of infiltration from Pakistan was enormous. Our initial actions did not lead to success. In fact, the first success we had was at Tololing, almost about 5 weeks after we had detected the infiltrations. The key issue here is, the spirit of the Indian Army, the young officers, the soldiers, this whole never say die attitude. There was absolutely no loss of morale. There was absolutely no thought that we are not going to ultimately succeed. There was absolutely no despair despite our initial setbacks, and that led to what today everybody is hailing as the whole spirit of the soldiers, the manner in which they behaved, and what they did. And I think it's incumbent on us today to also ensure that this ethos of the military, the values by which they go, the spirit that they have is kept intact. And I'm making this point consciously. Apoliticization leads to professionalism. If we just keep completely sort of out of politics, we will remain absolutely professional. And here I would sort of appeal that many times, the military is now getting drawn into political debates. And I think that is something that politicians across the board from, whichever party you are is immaterial, make sure that absolutely keep the army out of this political discourse. That to me is something that's absolutely key. That's the lesson of Kargil. Let the focus be completely on the army, on its professionalism. And the second point I would like to make is, the government is to be hugely complimented over the fact that after the Kargil war, they constituted the Kargil Review Committee, they constituted the group of ministers to go into details of what exactly has happened, to go into what the shortfalls were, and the recommendations that came out of that group of ministers report on how to reform the complete national security architecture, I think has stood us in excellent stead. The number of new structures that got created, particularly with regard to intelligence, Joint Command, the Andaman Nicobar Command, the Chief of Defense Staff. These have flown from the government taking such an honest approach to look. We need to learn the lessons. We need to identify the shortfalls, and we need to see how we can make our national security architecture better. And I think that's a lesson also for today. We are in extremely challenging circumstances and situations. We have two hostile adversaries. We have seen that since 2020. We have seen what China has been doing and how we had to sort of recycle, restructure, relocate our forces to deal with the Chinese challenge. And this challenge is not going away; it's going to increase in the future. We've also seen in Op.Sindoor that we have another very hostile neighbor in Pakistan, and we are seeing China and Pakistan coming together. So I think whatever action that we take, and a lot of people have talked about this on Op.Sindoor, I think there needs to be some honesty in critically analyzing what we did well, and we did well. There is no doubt about it. We also need to critically analyze what our shortfalls are. Because as the Kargil operation and the subsequent review committees that were formed show us that it only leads to enhancing and improving your national security architecture. So I would suggest a little more sort of openness and transparency about our military action, not the tactical parts, but the larger lessons that can help enhance India's national security. So these two key points I wanted to make, Amit. So thank you very much. Amit, you're on mute. Amit, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Brigadier Raghunath Jatar, let me quickly bring you in. 62 war, China, Indo-China war veteran, Major Shaitan Singh was on the other side of the mountain with his Paltan. The folklore of Shaitan Singh, but Brigadier Jatar has lived to this day to tell us about those days, when that happened, that folklore of Shaitan Singh, because he was on the other side of the mountain. He was also, commanding a Paltan. Brigadier Jatar, you've seen India from the 1960s, evolving as a military nation. Over to you, Jatar Saab, 94 years old. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really seriously overawed by the dignitaries on the board here today. As he mentioned, I was in 62 war in Ladakh, holding a post called Magar Hills. And now it seems rather out of date in the sense what happened then is so different from what happened today. But we were very, very badly prepared at that time, and we are now getting better and better prepared in Ladakh and everywhere else. So very difficult to draw comparisons and so on. But the way that Kargil war took place, it exhibits excellent spirit and resilience of the Indian Army, the young officers and the soldiers, how they attacked the various features is excellent. And Op.Sindoor, as even from this talk, still we are not very clear what happened in the sense whether it was a real victory for us or whether we did not do so well. It's not clear even from this discussion. So I would appreciate if somebody throws more light on that and what went wrong or what went right. A little more explanation is required, if I may suggest. Thank you for inviting me. Amit.
Jatar sir, before I bring the question answers and all those things and interjections, Avdesh Kumar ji, 2001 Parliament attack, 2025, the daughters are now doctors. Swati and Jyoti are doctors. But Kamlesh had a choice. One of the only two, दो में से दो लोग नारियां जिनको अशोक चक्र मिला, उसमें से एक थी कमलेश कुमारी. we talk about Nari Sashaktikarana, women empowerment. Avdesh Kumar, yesterday also I spoke to you. I firmly believe that there has to be some, apart from a portrait of Kamlesh ji, who would have been 47 today, 49 today, on the gates of the parliament, the new building, the new campus. Why don't we look at having an installation of Kamlesh Kumari, who laid down her life and saved the parliamentarians the respect of this nation. It is not about Kargil. It's about respect of my nation. Avdesh Kumar ji, over to you. आप कृपया हिंदी में बोले.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू गोनका सर. हमको यही कहना है कि पार्लियामेंट अटैक में कमलेश कुमारी ने जिस वीरता के साथ अपना दायित्व का निर्वाह किया और जो भी अटैक के समय शहीद हुए उनकी वहां पर मूर्ति स्थापित की जाए.
नहीं, अवधेश जी मुझे ये बताएं कि आने वाले समय में इस भारत में स्कूल के बहुत से बच्चे जुड़े हैं, प्रिंसिपल जुड़े हैं, जो आर्मी वेलफेयर स्कूल से आए हैं. इनके लिए आप क्या, आपने अपनी दोनों बेटियों को अपने सामने बड़े होते हुए देखा.
जी.
उनकी माँ शहीद हुई. शी हैड अ चॉइस. वो किसी भी स्तंभ के पीछे छुप सकती थी. इतने लंबे चौड़े सीआईएसएफ के जवान खड़े थे.
जी.
लेकिन ऐसी क्या उनके अंदर में अपब्रिंगिंग थी जो आज उनके बच्चों में होगी और जो आज के बच्चों से आप शेयर करना चाहेंगे, जिस कारण आज हमारे देश की गरिमा सुरक्षित है.
सर यही कहना चाहेंगे कि कमलेश कुमारी ने अपने क्या नाम ड्यूटी के दौरान अपना दायित्व का निर्वाह किया और ईमानदारी के साथ ड्यूटी की. इससे भारतीय संविधान को बचाया जा सका और उन्होंने देश को बहुत ही बड़े हमले से बचाया.
अवधेश जी आप जुड़े रहिए. पंकज सिंह जी,
जी.
I mean the Deputy National Security Advisor, former DGPSF, the man who knows India's security issues, Naxal or otherwise, outside Manipur. It could be Jammu Kashmir, Punch. It could be anything to do with Sri Lanka now. It could be anything to do with the water, 7,000 kilometers of the water borders of India. Major General Abhay Gupta knows very well how important the water borders are, because that is where the 2611 got initiated from. Over to you, the great soldier of India, son of India, Pankaj Singh.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amit. Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, let me, on behalf of everybody, pay homage to all those people who laid down their lives in Kargil. We have the Kargil Divas today. And also in Op.Sindoor, I mean, the brave hearts who protected the integrity and sovereignty of our country. With the galaxies of stars and experts in front of me, I mean, I would just like to share a couple of points that impinge on India's external as well as internal security. You're very well aware that today, if the political will is there, and as has been shown on a couple of occasions, the forces have always held the banner high, have always held the flag of India very, very high when the political will has shown its clarity, its vision that this problem needs to be taken care of. Whether it was Op.Sindoor right now, or as you're seeing in the internal security matter in the LWE matter, which has been going on for years and ages. I think it's on the last verge, on its last legs, with the kind of political resolve and commitment that has been shown. And this includes the security architecture as well as the developmental aspects. So there's been an absolute paradigm shift, and this government has shown a lot of clarity towards whatever it has wanted to achieve on the security aspects. I'll just flag these border-wise. I mean, Pakistan. I mean, the border is very clear. We have about the BSF. I would talk specifically about BSF, and we're working with the army and Kashmir also. I mean, by and large, it's a fairly protected border with very good clarity to the forces that this needs to be protected at all costs. But tunnels and drones, I think these are one area of concern. We have a number of anti-drone equipments, and as has been shown in Sindoor 1, that we have been very confidently taken care of these drones. I think the defense forces as well as the local police and the BSF have a number of anti-drone systems. I think all that needs to be done, and they should be networked and their operations coordinated. Creek is another area where it will be very difficult to respond very, very quickly. So that is also one area we need to take care of all the time, because Pakistan has built up huge defenses and armaments along the creek area on their side, which we have not done over a period of time. But of late, I think we are catching up very, very fast. On the Bangladesh issue, I think it's by and large fenced, but there are a number of riverine sections where it has not been fenced, and during the rainy season, it becomes very, very easy to cross these. On the smuggling aspect, not too much of earth shaking or which can impinge drastically on the security of the country, but illegal immigrants, smuggling of daily household goods, and yes, drugs at times, and weapons also have been detected. I think what India needs right now to do is to engage with the government in Bangladesh. There, we were talking to the ambassador of Bangladesh in Delhi, and he said, with India kind of watching the issue between China, how China is interfering, and US and Pakistan in Bangladesh affairs. India is probably just watching. And this kind of vacuum that India has created, somebody else is filling it up. So that needs to be taken care of. As far as Myanmar is concerned, I think Manipur and Mizoram are facing the brunt because of internal problems in Myanmar. The number of refugees is swelling each day, and not only refugees, but the insurgents who have helped fan the flames in Manipur for over 2 years now. The refugees are coming in by thousands, and there are almost about 60,000 refugees as of now. Now, with SIR being done by the Election Commission in Bihar today, and we are letting these Yeah, I'm sorry how it got muted. Yeah, I think, and lastly, what I would like to hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Lastly, I would like to say that this paradigm shift that has occurred in the battle, as has been talked upon by many, many people, PM very categorically saying during the Sindoor that भारत और भारतीयों का जो जज्बा है वो अकल्पनीय है, और हमसे कोई भी जो आदमी यदि आंख उठा के देखेगा तो हम उसको तलाशेंगे, पहचानेंगे, और उनको और उनके आकाओं को सजा जरूर देंगे. I think last point, I think General Huda did talk about it, about the post-Kargil conflict, the group of ministers that sat about and thinking about the new security architecture and the infrastructure that should be created. I think it's over 25 years now, and the government would be well worth it to consider thinking in terms of the change in technology, change in the global power equations, and the not so friendly neighbors that we have all over. So I think it would be well worth it to think of new architecture in terms of a new committee that could come into being and think about India in times to come. Thank you very much.
Pankaj, you probably could also throw some light upon the new era, which depends heavily on the AI issues, the cognitive and the kind of technological advancements, which are going to play a critical role in terms of the new warfare techniques that are going to be deployed by the developed nations.
I think the developed nations will not be shy. You see, most of the countries around the world, the developed ones at least, do not see very pretty, do not see very favorably about India, catching up from number fifth economy to fourth and maybe third in the times to come. America, like many people have said in this forum also, would love to see India take a stance and act as a bulwark against China, but it would never be very happy if it sees India growing economically and militarily in the times to come. It would, as long as India serves the interests of US would be okay. Otherwise, it can back out on many, many times that one has seen in the past, whether it's trade or armaments or whatever. With the kind of weaponry that we saw and the armaments that we saw during Sindoor 1.0, I think AI and machine learning, I think Indian companies are very well doing this as far as drones are concerned, as far as precision munitions are concerned, as far as loitering munitions are concerned. And I think the government has done wonderfully well in supporting the indigenous arms industry. This government has set a target of 50,000 crores when we are already exporting about 20,000 crores of defense armaments. I think it's very well worth it. And in the times to come, AI, ML, and things like autonomous drones and all, I think these will be very, very common, and India is doing very well in supporting these things. One thing we should be very wary of is, things technology like Starlink that Elon Musk is bringing in. Now, if you have internet from the sky at each and every place in India, you see, it is not just internet. It is also watching each and every place in India all the time. Even if you talk of autonomous cars, not only are they driving on their own, but they are capturing each and every feature of your topography, vital installations, and relaying the data where? Going back to some other country. I think these are things we should be very wary of, and we should be guarded against when we permit such technologies to come into India. Very, very important that we have things like, communication channels of our own, something like WhatsApp. We have had a Samvad by NIC. It was working very well. If the government starts that and the data stays in India, I think half the battle will be won. That'll be all from my side. Thank you, Amit. There are many people waiting. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
There are many. I'll also bring in everybody one by one. Pankaj, something would you like to say about the internal issues? You talked about the global aspects, the border conflict issues. Naxalism, for example, is a very important area.
Yeah, I think LWE seen a CC change from if you all remember the 76 CRP people who were killed in 2010 in May, from a very diffused kind of forces that had been sent to LWE. And today, with the kind of synergy that has been brought about, it is sea change. One thing you should also remember at the back of the mind is in the yesteryears, till about 4 or 5 years back, the governments at the center and the governments in most of the states, like Chhattisgarh was BJP, Orissa was Mr. Patnaik, Bihar was always Nitish Kumar, and Maharashtra, these were different. Center and state was different. I think this is the first time when the state and the center in most of the Naxal infected majorly states is one government. And that is what has brought about a huge amount of synergy in these places. The government's resolve, mind you, more than 10,000 telephone towers have been built, more than 10,000 kilometers of roads have been built, number of Navodaya schools have been built wherein children have come to the mainstream. Internet connectivity, when I was there in 2010, Bijapur district had one single mobile tower. Now, how do you connect? How do you connect with people when you're out there in the jungle? Satellite was the only way out, and we were the ones who introduced satellite trackers in the jungles then way back in 2010. So I think LWE is on the last legs. Our Honorable Home Minister, the kind of resolve that he has shown and put a deadline as 31st of March, I think CRP, the leading force that is there, along with BSF, SSB, ITBP, and Chhattisgarh, they have done exceptionally well and they need to be supported, and a pat on the back of the leaders who have led them from the front. Maharashtra and Orissa government and the forces have also done very well. And I'm sure we'll be able to see the back of this problem by March 31st, which our Home Minister has said. But the kind of bill that Maharashtra is trying to bring about to check in urban Naxals, I think a slight amount of caution would be required to ensure that it is not misused or abused in the times to come against intellectuals, maybe people who are criticizing the government also, but there is a need to check this kind of activity also. And if this and the activity that is going on in the LWE areas is checked, I think we will fairly see the relative calm, peace, prosperity, better economic development in these states in the times to come. Thank you.
Very important, excellent point put forth towards the end of your speech about the bill in Maharashtra for the urban Naxals. Because, when you started talking about the Naxals, Bengal is the state which probably is where it all originated from. Charu Majumdar, Kanu Sanyal. Charu Majumdar and Kanu Sanyal in the early 70s were responsible for getting this Naxalite movement initiated. And from that times, Bengal has really seen a downfall. Apart from that, very, very ill-famous or infamous Ganeshwari accident, Ganeshwari derailment, wherein 160 people lost their lives because of the Naxal issues. I know when the rail line was derailed, Ganeshwari Kurla Express to Mumbai. But then the urban Naxalism of Bengal has taken over pretty strongly. So I'm sure Maharashtra is already, taken a step ahead by ensuring that even if the red corridor is getting diluted in terms of the Naxalism being curtailed or curbed because of the military operations, because of the anti-Naxal operations that have been initiated by the current Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, at the same time, the urban Naxalism, which probably thrives on the money aspect more. The laundering issues, the money laundering issues, these scams, these are all people who feed these urban Naxals. I'm sure, Maharashtra will be again setting an example for the states for this trajectory, not moving from Naxalism to urban Naxalism, and then again derail the peace process. Pankaj, try and stay with us. We've got Mr. Vijay Kuradagi, the Director Marketing of Cotton Corporation with us. From the corporates, public sector, they are very important. We also, we cannot have economics and sovereignty of a nation be extricably kept aside. They are both inextricably linked. CPSs play an important role. Public sector companies play an important role. Vijay Kuradagi, over to you.
Thank you, Amitji. Thank you very much. Before I get into this, my thoughts regarding this event. First of all, distinguished dignitaries, galaxy of the luminaries, and other guests who have joined virtually. First and foremost, I would like to thank you, Vision India Forum, for giving us opportunity to be the part of this revered event organized by Mr. Amit. First and foremost, we are all, we as a civilian, we are all feel safe only when our warriors are fighting their battle at the border. That's how today we are talking, or we are standing before you with all this humility because of all our soldiers. So I take this opportunity to salute all those warriors who led their lives during Kargil war. And also our thoughts are with their families and a big salute to them. While participating in this event, we at Cotton Corporation of India, I would like to recall a very famous slogan with which we are born and brought up. Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Now I would like to just touch upon second part of the warrior, Jai Kisan. Why I'm saying that my corporation serves the second part of the warrior, that is our farmer, who are also backbone of this country. And my corporation serves 6 million cotton farmers in India by providing a remunerative price for their produce. So we will today I would like to remember them also. And I take this, the corporation has a pride in its functions while serving this second part of the warrior. That's how I thought that this is a very apt slogan which I should recall today. Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. While saluting our Jawans, I also would like to salute our Kisan, who are also backbone of India. Once again, Amit ji, thank you very much for being part of this very apt on July 26th this event. And I was hearing all the this retired general, the soldiers and other thing. It's very inspiring to us, and I should say that we should be thankful to all these gentlemen who have made our the civilians' life very comfortable and safe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Vijayji always says thank you for these wonderful comments and at least appreciating the relevance of solidarity.
Yes.
That is what we have to keep explaining to people who will go around, lecturing people about the importance of soldiers. Because today is not only the day of soldiers, it is about solidarity for a self-respectful nation. Brigadier Ajit Apte. Sir, your camera, if you requested to be on, please. Brigadier Ajit Apte, sir. Apte ji, are you there with us?
Why see?
What's that?
Apte ji, are you there with us? Okay, let me go back to Major General Abhay Gupta ji. Gupta ji, there was a huge issue. I would not say huge, very relevant issue, wherein the coordination between this is the day when we are talking about the prowess of the Indian military, the prowess of Indian security forces, the CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces, earlier known as the paramilitary. Now, all these are responsible for our free life, the liberty that is enshrined in the Constitution, Article 19, 21, and all that. Apteji, why people do question. You've seen the World War memorials. You've been and traveled. You've seen. You studied. World War I was for 4.5 years. World War II was for 6 years. The current conflict of Soviet and the Ukraine is going on. China, Vietnam went on for years. India's wars at best have been for a couple of months. And people have been questioning about the sincerity of the dialogues behind such wars being basically a substitute for skirmishes except for Bangladesh, wherein there was a political issue which that the Prime Minister at that time had to take advantage of, or probably take a rescuing situation or a kind of evacuation situation, because 65 lakh refugees had entered India. She had no choice. So now, how would you compare this kind of a comment that people associate with India's security as far as the border fronts are concerned, engaging with a war with Pakistan now and then, 13 days, 2 months, something happens in Arunachal for 3 days. Are these really wars? Or the world wars, or the Chinese wars, or the wars even fought in the Gulf? Even the Gulf was for almost 7 months. How would you compare the comments about the sincerity of the dialogues, which lead to these unnecessary and ultimately leads to nothing? Again, after a year, we'll have something. After 3 years, we'll have again something else from Pakistan. Last 11 years, good governance, great. Everything has been moving in a linear direction upwards. But there have been ghastly incidents every 2-3 years. And where have these wars led us to? Over to you.
Firstly, Amit, as far as the First World War, Second World War that you have mentioned, the impact was different. I will not go into the details. Having traveled to most of these World War and First World battle locations all over the world, I say this much, that those were proper wars fought. Even India fought as part of the Allies, supporting Britain, and our troops were there in various battles. Second World War, North Africa, Sudan, and then even Burma campaign. We had troops also in France. Now, there you see the impact of war was felt because the cities were bombed and the population got to know what war means.
मॉडर्न वाले
Yes.
की आपकी बात मैं आपको एक चीज बताता हूँ आजकल के बच्चे सुनना भी नहीं चाहते हैं अरे दादा दादी हो गए, हमारा माँ बाप हो गए।
Yes.
ठीक है हम उस चीज को समझना नहीं चाहते हैं।
एक सेकंड सर, मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट एनिमल हस्बेंड्री हैज जॉइंड अस, एनिमल हस्बेंड्री एंड
छोटा सा जीवन जीने की
SPS Baghel, MP from Agra, joined us. Baghel sir, can you hear us?
100 साल की है।
Baghel sir, can you hear and see us? Baghel sir, yes, he is there. The Minister of State Government of India is there with us. बाघेल साहब MP from बाघेल जी, बाघेल साहब हमारे साथ अभी मेजर जनरल अभय गुप्ता है और 2611 के NSG के ऑपरेशन हेड थे, में अशोक चक्र मिला हमारे साथ पंकज सिंह है, पंकज सिंह डिप्टी NSA नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर, ब्रिगेडियर अजीत आपटे है, ब्रिगेडियर अजीत आपटे इज NDA पुणे के सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, साथ अवधेश कुमार है, कमलेश कुमारी जी के हस्बैंड, 2001 पार्लियामेंट अटैक की जो अशोक चक्र विजेता है, हस्बैंड है हमारे साथ, और रघुनाथ जटार, ब्रिगेडियर जटार 1962 वॉर के वेटरन। बाघेल साहब, ओवर टू यू। भारत की सिक्योरिटी, भारत की अस्मिता, भारत का सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट, ये सिर्फ कारगिल नहीं है, ये भारत की इज्जत का सवाल है। हमारे देश के जो सोल्जर्स हैं, आप जैसे लीडर्स के आगमन में वो आगे बढ़ते हैं, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे उनको, शुभ संदेश क्या देना चाहेंगे? आपका मोबाइल म्यूट है, म्यूट है।
सोशल मीडिया का
आवाज बंद है, आवाज बंद है मोबाइल की।
लगता था कि साथ में प्रॉब्लम होता वो नहीं सबको ना मतलब एक वायरल नया चाहिए, कुछ ना कुछ वायरल होना है। वो क्या रहा, जो असली चीज है वो तो साइड हो गई। आज वाले बच्चे हैं
आप ठीक है, अब आप बोलिए सर।
जी, कार्यक्रम के आयोजन के लिए आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई और धन्यवाद। सभी परमवीर चक्र, अशोक चक्र, कीर्त चक्र विजेताओं को, इसमें भाग लेने वालों का, जिनका कारगिल से युद्ध से नाता रहा, रिश्ता रहा, भूमिका रही, उन सबके प्रति अपनी कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करना चाहूंगा। जो जात, वर्ग, क्षेत्र, धर्म अपने पुरखों का सम्मान नहीं करता, वो आगे नहीं बढ़ता है। और हमारे पुरखे वो जो कारगिल में जिन्होंने जीत में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई, भारत की एकता, अखंडता, भाईचारा, सद्भाव को मजबूत रखा तथा विश्व में भारत का नाम रोशन किया, ऐसे सभी वीर सैनिकों, अधिकारियों, पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस, PSF, CRP, ITBP, CISF, इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसियां, उसके अलावा सैनिक से लेके जनरल चीफ ऑफ द आर्मी स्टाफ तक एयरफोर्स के सभी अधिकारियों के प्रति मैं कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करना चाहूंगा कि कारगिल में उन्होंने त्याग, तपस्या, शौर्य और बलिदान का परिचय देकर भारत माता की लाज रखी, देश की एकता, अखंडता को मजबूत किया। और मेरा संयोग है कि जिस समय कारगिल हो रहा था, मुझे लोकसभा का सांसद था मैं, तो मुझे पार्लियामेंट में भी अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी के सभी भाषण, रक्षा मंत्री जी के, मुझे लगता है जॉर्ज फर्नांडिस साहब रक्षा मंत्री थे, उन सबको देखने का, सुनने का। और मेरी लोकसभा में लगभग 11 लोग जवान कारगिल में शहीद हुए थे। मुझे आज भी उनके गांव याद हैं, मलुकपुर में, नगला चौधरी में, बेदई में, जैतई में, दिलीपुरा में, जंगला में, भूतिया में, मरसलगंज में। इन जगह हमारे शहीद सैनिकों के शव आए थे। सबके दाह संस्कार में, गार्ड ऑफ ऑनर में मुझे रहने का मौका मिला। आज पुनः ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की नेतृत्व में हमारे फोर्सेस ने, हमारी मिलिट्री ने जिस प्रकार से 27 मिनट में ही पाकिस्तान को धूल चटाती के तमाम हवाई अड्डों को नेस्तनाबूद किया है। और ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, उसके पहले भी नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हमारे फोर्सेस ने सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक करके अपने को एक फौज के मामले में, एयरफोर्स के मामले में विकसित राष्ट्र होने का परिचय दिया था। थैंक यू।
बाघेल साहब, आप आगरा से सांसद हैं और आगरा हमारे
जी
देश का पर्यटन का सूर्य स्तंभ है, जहां पर ताजमहल है।
जी
और अभी जो पहलगाम की
जी
घटना हुई और ये जो ऑपरेशन सिंदूर हुआ, जो हमने रिटेलिएशन किया पाकिस्तान के गलत इरादों के विरुद्ध, इसमें आगरा एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट भूमिका प्ले करता है, बिकॉज आगरा भी टूरिज्म का सेंटर स्टेज है, सेंटर पॉइंट है। तो आज आप ये हमें बताएं कि कितना इंपॉर्टेंट है ये सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस का रोल हमारे देश की अस्मिता को बनाए रखने के लिए, जहां तक क्योंकि पर्यटन अगर हमारा बदनाम हो जाता है तो हमारा सिर्फ रेवेन्यू नहीं, हमारे देश की छवि भी बिगड़ती है। बाघेल साहब।
निश्चित तौर से जब कोई आतंकवादी घटना देश में होती है तो मीडिया के माध्यम से, सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से पूरे विश्व में वो पहुंच जाती है और फिर पर्यटन प्रभावित होता है। जो गांव की है उससे तो कश्मीर को बहुत नुकसान हुआ। जिस समय ये घटना हुई थी, सीजन के हम दरवाजे पर खड़े थे और पिछले दिनों, इन्हीं दिनों गर्मियों में जब मुझे कश्मीर जाने का मौका मिला तो कोई भी होटल का कोई भी कमरा खाली नहीं था। पिछले सीजन में मुझे आगरा के पर्यटक जो इस देश से पहुंच जाते थे, आगरा के नागरिक, कमरा मिल ही जाएगा। मुझे सरकारी गेस्ट हाउस की तो छोड़ो, सरकारी ऑफिसेज में रात गुजारने के लिए अपने विभाग के कहना पड़ा था। पहलगाम की इस घटना से पूरे देश में पर्यटकों में कमी आती है। कश्मीर तो पर्यटन पर ही निर्भर है। ऐसा करके वो अपने स्वजाति और अपने धर्म के भाई बहनों का ही नुकसान करते हैं। प्रायोजित हैं, उनको, उनका आतंकवादियों का कोई पर्यटन दृष्टि से भारत आता है तो वो ताजमहल के लिए आता है, यहाँ आता है तो देश में सुरक्षा है, आतंकवादी ऑर्डर अच्छा हो, अनुकूल वातावरण हो, में इस प्रकार की देश में घुस के कार्रवाई।
I think there has been some network problem with the minister's mobile. Over to you, Abhay Gupta ji. Gupta ji, I was asking you about the disconnect or the kind of decision-making gap which happens between the bureaucracy vis-a-vis the security. How important is that, not only from your experience that you faced during the times of the 26/11 attacks, but also you've seen this evolving over years. And what are your suggestions and what have been the improvements over the last 15, 16 years on those learnings from the 26/11 attacks? Because I remember you talking to me about the issues when you had to travel from Manesar in 3 hours reach Mumbai. The commissioner's office didn't have the infrastructure to support, and there were decision-making gaps, and there were lateral channels working for cross purposes, delaying the kind of ratification process or the kind of reprimanding of the terrorists who had taken over the Kolaba property. Over to you, Major General Abhay Gupta.
Thank you, Amit. Actually, the problem lies in perceptions. The military man looks at issues from the operational, tactical point of view. Those in the government do not have that hands-on experience, so they do not really understand or fully comprehend the essence of the event that is ongoing. To give you an example, NSG had deployed approximately 350 personnel, of which the DG NSG, who is an IPS officer, late Mr. Dutt, Jyoti Krishan Dutt, his personal security constable, and in the third lift, I got a cook because we were told we may have to stay for a longer duration. Other than that, it was all military men, army personnel who were taken primarily from 51 SAG. And in the second lift, I brought in about a platoon worth from 52 SAG so that they also have this contribution in this event. My point here is that we deployed 350 people. And later on, we were criticized. Even before that, we were being criticized. NSG is using too much force. Compare this to what the CRPF had brought in, to what the Indian Army had brought in. And then I don't want to go into figures, and I don't have the accurate figures. And then you will get an understanding that the third helicopter lift was delayed by 24 hours. They were ready, they were fully prepared to go. Home Ministry was not giving me the clearance. Mr. Dutt was in situation in Mumbai. He told me Home Secretary is pressing hard. Army is saying it is beyond energy, hand it over to Army. So I said, release that lift. He says, no, we have already got too many troops. Now, if you take away those 70, 80 bodies who traveled, we were hardly 250, 260 people doing the operations. And I've explained a number of times that it was a proper hostage situation. You had to go from room to room, corridor floor wise, and clear it. You have to literally open the door by using a master key and then search each room. So my point here is that delay got exaggerated in further completion of operations. And now you turn around and say energy took a lot of time during the operation. So this is one part. Please see in context, Op.Sindoor 1. Those who were to run it, they ran it. And they ran it so well that the world has set up and started taking notice. My point here is very simple. This disconnect is bound to stay. It is because of different perspectives through our individual experiences, our services, whichever service we are in. But the need to bridge it at perhaps the Cabinet Committee of Security at that level, and then be very, very clear as to what degree of interference and other thing will you implement is very essential. Fortunately, there is, light at the end of the tunnel when we see Op.Sindoor 1. And hopefully this will continue to roll forward. Coming to the other issue that you raised about these skirmishes and wars, please let us all understand battles are tactical, wars are strategic, logistics plays the major part in wars. Hence, even now in the ongoing Russian conflict, you find that different nations are sending the wherewithal to fight. It is in this context that the two world wars had logistics backing, both by America till it entered, and besides the other participants. In our case, we have fought our wars as an independent single nation. We have not enjoyed the support of others, except towards the end, some friendly countries gave us some munitions. Are we still forum or has it been dissolved? Amitji, are we on? Am I talking to myself?
No, we are on and actually I am just, ready with a very dangerous question, which will be the boomerang. It will be boomeranging to all of you, but then specifically directed towards Pankajji, who has run away in the nick of time. Pankajji, stay with us because the question was going to be towards you. I was listening very, very patiently to this. We've been also joined by Paramvir Chakra Vijeta Arun Khetrapal ji, 71 war, the great, Major Arun Khetrapal, Captain Arun Khetrapal's brother Mukesh Khetrapal ji, posthumous Paramvir Chakra Vijeta. Brigadier Apte is again back with us. Abhay Gupta raised a very important point. When I asked him the question about the disconnect between the bureaucracy and the, operations, because he handled operations as the NSG chief from the army's perspective, because NSG operations are handled by, see, the AWS boys and girls principles. This is what you're going to be today. This is the takeaway for all of you guys. You've not been punished by staying here. Not only have you seen the grades, are you seeing the grades, but you're also listening to some very important conversation. There is a huge disconnect between bureaucracy and the operations that can lead to disaster. That can lead to disaster. It's the efficacy. It is the kind of diligence. It is the patriotism of these, the passion of these soldiers, which makes us overcome these kind of bottlenecks which we as civilians fail in our day-to-day lives when we are faced with, when we even go for a ration card, for a birth certificate also, because of the bureaucratic red tapeism. But Abhay Gupta ji, 23rd May, Pankaj Singh Saab, Deputy NSA. Sir, the question to you, probably put to you, anybody else could take a lead. 23rd May 2025, the Supreme Court said 50% posts of the CAPF, the paramilitary, which is reserved for IPS officers, and above. That really hits the morale. Forget about the operations. The CAPF people, the promotions, their morale, their productivity, all gets impacted. Henceforth, they gave a direction to the central government on the 23rd of May this year. Justice Abhay Oka's bench of two, divisional bench, it had announced that the central government has to rethink the rules of the CAPF employment and give them the rightful place as officers of grade A services, OGAS. Now, Pankaj, your views as an IPS officer, your views as India's security advisor on this issue. Then Brigadier Apte, he is a man who knows almost everything. He also knows how to handle Imran Khan in the commentary box. He also knows how to handle Sharmila Tagore of the commentary box. I'll bring that later. But Pankaj Singh ji, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. I think what you have just said about CAPS and the court issue, I think it's basically an extrapolation of what Brigadier Gupta was just talking about. Differences in opinion between the different arms of the government at the times of crux. Let us all remember, whether it is CAPF or at times of operations. I mean, you can even talk of Op.Sindoor right now. First and foremost, I mean, it's a political decision when to retaliate or when to go ahead with your. Oh, I think somebody's talking. When to go ahead with your response. I mean, and response was very clear that it had to be focused, it had to be measured, and it had to be proportionate. Now, in any game, I mean, whether it's a cricket match, whether it's an operations in LWE, or maybe even Sindoor, what you need is a good team. Please remember, Amit, you do not need 11 Sachin Tendulkars in one team. You need just one Sachin Tendulkar to score, Harbhajan to do his bit of bowling, maybe Pandya and others to do wonderful fielding, and Pant to do his wicket keeping. 11 Sachin Tendulkars, there will always be a problem. The team cannot go anywhere. In times of crisis, especially, all you need is a good leader. And once the political decision to launch Sindoor has been taken, I think then whosoever you trust, Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, give him a free hand. Whosoever you think is the most competent one to give that kind of response. And then he should be permitted to have his own team to deliver the results. But that resolve, that political will, that decision will have to be taken first before you decide on the response. Now, if you talk of CAPFs, the most I have been in CRPF for about 4.5 years. I was in Chhattisgarh for 2 years. I was in BSF looking after Eastern Command, 4,000 kilometers of Bangladesh border, entire Northeast, and also the Western one as heading BSF. What is of most important issue is when CRPF, BSF goes into Chhattisgarh, goes into Orissa, goes into Gadchiroli to do these kind of operations against Naxals. You see, they are not well versed with the topography at all. Two, they need to be handheld for the logistics part that Brigadier Gupta was just talking about. I mean, that forms the lifeline of the kind of response that you'll be able to give. So, if you talk in terms of coordination between the state and the CRPFs, I can tell you when 76 of CRPF were killed, the CRPF was not on talking terms with the Chhattisgarh police, and Chhattisgarh police did not extend any kind of help at all to CRPF. It was a constant blame game for about 6 months, and ultimately, who suffers? It is not the chiefs, it's not the captain who suffers, it's the force which suffers. So ultimately, you need to see who is able to bring about a better coordination between center and state, between one country's response to another. So, and then once that decision has been taken to give a reply, I think you need to pick up the best. Regarding CAPF, all I would say it's a matter of sub judice. The Home Ministry has gone in appeal for whatever logic it has to the Supreme Court and let them take a final call. In the interest, and I would say the benchmark should be in the interests of national integrity and sovereignty. Whosoever serves the best, he should be given the charge. Thank you.
Pankajji, I'll just take the lead again towards the end of your speech. You just now talked about whoever serves the best interest. I was traveling from Devgarh. It's a pilgrim town. And during this month of monsoon, it becomes more so very important because of the Baba Dham, the Shiv Linga over there, Jyotirlinga, one of the Shiv Lingas over there. And I was traveling through the airport, and what I realized is there is something called the CISF being replaced. CISF, which is in charge of the security of the airports. Now CISF takes, for these people who are not people from the army or the armed forces or the CAPF, for them, CRPF, CISF is the agency which is entrusted with the security of our country's important establishments, airports being one of them. CISF was replaced by the state security forces, the state police forces. I was carrying a shaving kit on my luggage. Through the security cordon it passed with blades, with the razor blades, and there was nobody to even understand, despite the scanners and everything. The question is, are we prepared to take chances with such kind of the best man for the best job things? And therein again we go back to the same question of whether an IPS officer who's not handled CRPF suddenly being posted for CRPF in Chhattisgarh, Gadchiroli or Maharashtra, or say in red corridors of Bihar or Andhra Pradesh, would he be the best suited person? Because ultimately it's the security of the nation, the respect of the citizens, which is at stake.
No, I would fully agree with you as far as this is concerned. A person who has not served in a paramilitary or an armed police force in his state would have no clue of, what is a platoon level and what is a section level and what's a company level. I can tell you, and I would not name, there was a particular, and I know the person, but I would not name a designation or a very, very senior official from MHA, and when he came to one of the CAPS for a presentation, and he was told, no, sir, the problem is acute, so we need to post one full platoon of people in that place to secure it. He said, no, I don't think platoons are required. You post a smaller component. A company would be much better. Now, a person from the Home Ministry, a very, very senior official who doesn't know the difference between a company or a platoon, I mean, you can very well imagine what he would have, what decisions he'll take in the interest of the force or the country. Yes, a person should have had the experience, and if a person I can even give you examples of people in Delhi who passed comments on the performance in LWE, in Northeast, when they have not visited these places one single day. You can very well imagine the conditions are so different. Go to an area like Abujmar. I mean, it's intractable. Things have not been surveyed there. And then you comment, oh, it's just half a kilometer in Abu Jmal. Why don't the forces go in 1 kilometer inside and get hold of the Naxals there? So yes, absolutely, fully in agreement with you. A person should have had the experience of that particular force or the armed force in his state before he should be given charge. And ultimately, at the top, we don't need a scientist who would like to work in isolation. I mean, nothing, no slur on the scientist, but who would work in isolation, look at his PhD, look at his research. No, any force, any uniformed force is a team game. You need to be a good team leader, lead from the front, and should be able to do what you talk. Get team around. Each and every person can contribute something or the other.
Okay. Can you hear me, all of you? Can you hear me? Pankaj ji, okay. Abhay Gupta, Major General Abhay Gupta ji, 2611 war veteran, and we have got Brigadier Ajit Apte. Now we also have Mukesh Khetrapal. He is one of these special case dignitaries today, because Arun Khetrapal ji, Major Arun Khetrapal, who got the Paramveer Chakra.
Anji, namaste ji. Thank you, Amit.
Arun Khetrapal ji got the, he left IIT. And then he went, I'll bring that subject very soon. But before that, Abhay Gupta ji, Pankaj ji, the Deputy NSA was talking about integration of interests.
You put across your views so nicely. It shows a very great grasp of the things that you deal with.
Thank you.
The issue that you said is that given the team, you said that you need a leader who understands and then he lets the team play. Unfortunately, war and conflict doesn't visit us as per our timetable. So in any given situation, you have the people already who are there with the weapons and equipment that they have. And they have to handle it and fight it accordingly. And that is why perhaps in our peacetime endeavors, we try and create our leaderships within the services, our weaponry, our tactics, and other things. Now, the issue here is, as you rightly pointed out, that some people, because they hold authority in a particular sphere, and that authority permeates to the lower organizations, they assume that because of that authority, they know it all. That is the danger. And that is a personalized flaw for which none of us can give an institutional solution. However, if there were certain amount of filters put within the organizational setup to filter out some of these very strong things that they may be doing, then lesser harm would come. That is perhaps the maximum that I can say here, because really speaking, it is an ongoing process. If you see the two world wars, the Britishers said that the first generation of the generals were always sacked because they were losing. It was the subsequent ones who prospered. So, and after every war, the forces were down, they were reduced. The Kargil committee issues that were brought in, since I did a study pertaining to the NSG, the Kargil committee had advocated regional centers of NSG seeing the expense of the country. And I had written a number of papers to MHA which were all bounced. Once 2611 happened and the Prime Minister committed to the nation that one of the solutions is they will create regional centers. Well, regional centers were not created. Regional presence has been created. The strength has been reduced to regional hubs. So politically, you are correct. But the capability and capacity of this force to tackle the kind of issues that may arise has been watered down. Now, suppose something happens again in Mumbai, the Mumbai hub will throw in get activated, but it will need reserves from Manesar. Once you want to move those reserves, the political and the bureaucrats in that system will say, well, you have the hub, why do you need people from Manesar? That time they will not understand the logic of the Kargil committee, which said put a viable sized force regionally. Now that is where the difference is still existing. So I mean that is all that I have to say.
Let me quickly bring in this particular point. Ankaji, please allow me. Let me bring in Brigadier Ajit Apte. He is the man who commands NDA. I mean, Senior Vice President of 50,000 NDA soldiers, alumni association. NDA is the central agency from central institution from where India's security warriors or the marshals come out. Apteji, why do we have to worry about such, kind of heterogeneous kind of learning and development topography when the people who come out of the services all have the same ethos, vision, culture, mission, and the kind of atmosphere in which they are groomed?
Amit, let me correct you, Amit. Firstly, I don't command anything. I am a veteran, having served in the Indian Army for 36 years, from 1970 till 2006. It's just that I happen to be the Senior Vice President of the National Defense Academy Alumni Association, Central, and I'm the chairman of the Pune chapter, so I don't command anything. We owe a lot to the commandant and the staff at the NDA, and we support the interests of the veterans, alumni who belong to the National Defense Academy. Now, as far as I'm sure there are many here, in fact, Brigadier Jathar is the senior most NDA second JSW course, and many will agree with me. The ethos of the National Defense Academy, the inter-services academy that was created as a follow-up to the Allied invasion at Normandy on 6 June 1944, when Eisenhower said that I wish I had people who had been trained right from the basic courses. And I think let's give it full to the British who decided to create the National Defense Academy. So I'll leave it at that. And yes, I do participate and it's great fun. But as far as the people who come out from there and our ethos, leadership, whatever has been shaped there as the NDA is called, cradle of leadership, and then we take our respective places. Uh, People have fought different conflicts, wars, and as someone very correctly brought out, the difference between a war and a conflict, he's amplified it. I don't want to go into it. But what you're trying to bring out, I'll just summarize in one way, that Mr. Pankaj Singh has also said, there are paramilitary forces, there's CRPF, there's BSF, there's the Indian Army, Navy, and the Air Force, there's the Coast Guard and everything. I think what is important for India to succeed is that we must have synergy, coordination, sharing of information, sharing of intelligence. We should not function in silos. We should not think that I am one up and I don't wish to share. Because I think that is the biggest drawback which our country probably is facing. We saw it in 62. We saw it to a large extent in 71 also. Of course, we were successful and we liberated Bangladesh. But even in Kargil, I think there was an intelligence lapse, or if you wish to call it a failure. So actually, we have eliminated the enemy who had the guts and dare to occupy the heights. And that was probably because of our intelligence failure. Even as someone brought out Sindoor now, was an intelligence failure. So somewhere there is a lack of coordination, there is a lack of cohesion, there is a feeling of one-upmanship between the various agencies, security, the national security agencies. We keep talking of comprehensive national security. We keep talking about comprehensive national power, which includes the economy, the diplomats, the politicians, everyone. But are we really achieving or have we really gained much towards comprehensive national power, comprehensive national security? These are questions which frankly need to come up and need to be answered. And we also keep talking of like police reforms. I don't think they've come through. There are some very senior, distinguished police people out here. Judicial reforms, I don't know whether they've come through.
No, sir, they have not come through.
Security
I can vouch for that. They have not come through. People are still fighting political versus nepotism. In a political nepotism,
Yes,
they are still fighting. There is in-house fighting in the IPS that goes on.
So what I'm trying to say is good to talk of national security policies where the armed forces play a major role. But somebody brought out, let's take when you have floods, when you have earthquakes, when you
I
have a
was going to
simple
come to that.
bridge.
After
No,
the
no,
84,
1 minute.
your story of Bhopal gas tragedy. Take us through that.
1
Take us
minute.
through that.
Yes, in fact, I was there at the Bhopal railway station that night, and I've
Exactly.
seen how. Yes, I was there, and let me talk about a bridge falling in Bombay. Who comes in? It's the military engineers who come and build the bridge, because your civilian infrastructure is incapable.
MRPL team, are you listening to this? MRPL team, are you there? Are you listening to this? Bhopal gas tragedy, Brigadier Apte was there. He was saving the citizens. MRPL has got an 18-kilometer perimeter terrain, which is subjected to lot of risks, security risks. And MRPL is a company which is one of the most respected companies in the country, public sector company. Security doesn't mean only the borders of Pahalgam. Security also means securing our establishments. Brigadier Apte, sir, please carry on.
Yeah, we are here, sir. We are listening.
I'm just trying to bring out various examples. A child falls into a well, you get the Indian Army to pull out the child. I mean, it's ridiculous. In 72, after the 71 war, I was in Punjab. And we just said, call the army. Army को बुलाओ अगर कुछ चाहिए तो. उनका number ये है. I think that is not fair. That is point number one. 84, you know what happened. I was there at Bhopal during the gas week. I reached the railway station. I was brigade major of a brigade. And I was there. The Colonel GS of my division fainted. He was evacuated. I also ran. Then I came back. One of the army people wanted to take me to the hospital. I declined that. I was conducting or rather helping them out till I could catch a train. There was no police. The police only blew the siren. It was the Indian Army there. So what I'm trying to say is the civil administration geared up, or they feel that the Indian armed forces are the best to evacuate people by Air Force helicopters. The Navy comes in, the Indian Army comes in, and as General Abhay Gupta has brought out his predicaments during the 26/11, I think these are lessons to be learned, and these need to be applied in our so-called national security policies. So we talk, we make a lot of architectural designs, blueprints, but how many of them are implementable? Today also people are saying, well, Pahalgam terrorists, have they really been caught? Where are they? Some pictures have been shown. Are they the actual ones? So these are questions which need to be tackled at political, diplomatic, and various other levels of national security.
So
And
I just link the last part of it. I just click the last because that was going. You guys are preempting my thoughts and my questions. Anyways, now Brigadier Jatar is there with us. 62 war. You know, Shaitan Singh and you work together. The folklore of Shaitan Singh. You know, today's generation might not be even knowing the names of Kamlesh Kumari, 2001 Parliament attack, Ashok Chakra Vijeta, or Major Shaitan Singh. I mean, the man who carried soldiers kilometers, came back, again ran kilometers. I mean, political issue. That is where Brigadier Apte ended with. Political willpower, political goof-ups, political misrepresentations, decision-making flaws, lacunae. You've seen that in 62. Slight light would you like to throw on that? You've spoken to me individually on your show, but today on this day, would you like to speak something about it? 1962.
Well, I think all of us present here know what went wrong with 62. Practically speaking, it was the forward policy of the government which went wrong, and that led into difficult. And in the army as such, we were not prepared. particularly in the eastern sector. In Ladakh sector, of course, it was done much better than in the eastern sector. And but even there, the forces were dissipated, except Chushu be stronger. So there is brigade strength, and we have 13 Kumaon was along with Gurkhas, will deployed there, and slightly more compact than others, but still all the same, it is not really standard defenses. The company difference between my company and Mr. Satan Singh's company was about 10 kilometers. It's a long distance. So we used to support each other. That's what I'm trying to say. So we had taken on a war which really we were not prepared for. That went wrong. That does not seem to be a case now, with this lack of coordination which I just mentioned. Well, that is something very obvious. And when I was later on in Ladakh, for example, as the deputy GOC of the DIV, I was there, and I saw that there were several intelligence agencies were operating in Leh, but there was complete lack of coordination between them. It's very sad to say. There's some of my friends there, but they were not sharing information. Somebody mentioned they must share intelligence with each other. They're not doing that. And I think these are the type of problems that are still existing. Thank you.
Okay, Jeta, as a follow-up to this, dialogue, before I bring Mukesh ji, just one question to you, Pankaj ji. Be it Pulwama, be it Pahalgam, startling similarities, to the kind of attacks we saw that. And there are insinuations directed towards lack of political willpower or conflict of political interests, in the valley, which lead to such kind of ghastly incidents, the toll of which ultimately is borne as a scar on the nation, by the nation, and also, the economically and development-wise, everything suffers. Because, just 6 months back, everything, as SP Singh Baghel, the Honorable Minister, just spoke about, was so hunky-dory in Jammu Kashmir. We were talking about investment summits there. And suddenly, despite all the village border guards and everything being there, Pulwama happened, wherein the convoy was followed for 30 kilometers. They stuck 40 BR regiment people gone. They brought in 300 kilograms of RDX. How does all that happen in today's scenario? There is somebody who are casting aspersions and insinuations about the statehood demands, which could lead to, again, instability. This kind of things would lead to requirement of a center indulgence more so. And thereafter, the requirement of the statehood demand would again get diluted for at least a couple of years, or till we have the new census again done within the next year or so. So these kind of political insinuations, how relevant are they, and how much do you think they impact the security of sensitive regions like J&K, Myanmar, or even Sri Lanka now?
Amit, to your larger question, I would say political, expediency, political interests can be different. I mean, today, yes, J&K, statehood is being demanded for the UT that it is. And you talked of Manipur and Mizoram, a number of refugees coming in, and the political dispensation permitting them. But let's also understand, I mean, is our own house in order? Our own house, meaning our security forces, whether it's army at the borders, BSF at the borders, local police within J&K, they have their own intelligence setup. Intelligence bureau is there. Other intelligence agencies are there. Here, who stops you from doing your work? I don't think any politician says, do not detect, do not listen, and do not act against any kind of terrorist who's coming in. I think let's set our own house in order. And what somebody just commented, I mean, is there seamless flow of intelligence, information, and coordination across the different enforcement agencies? I would not think so. Many a times it has been seen, and in any troubled theater of the country, past and present, I mean, by and large, we tend to work in silos. Why should I give my vital piece of information to another agency? So I think, yes, it's very easy to say, and not that I'm siding with the politicians, but yes, politicians will play their own game. But if there's anything, whether it's Pahalgam or Sindoor, also you talked about intelligence issues or failures. Who stopped any intelligence agency from telling you yes or picking up the chatter? We today have satellites, we have all kinds of surveillance devices, physical presence, cameras, and everything, and we pick up all kinds of quotable and unquotable types of intelligence that is flowing across. So I think we should see our own house, whether it's in order. Politicians will play their own game, but the law of the land, I think, the rule of law must prevail. And if there's the law of land prevails today, I mean, you talk of Mizoram and Manipur, the number of refugees who are coming in from Myanmar, the number of insurgents who are supporting the Meiteis and the Kukis have also come in with all kinds of weapons. And these are going to destabilize, and they have already destabilized for over 2 years the border, the place in Manipur, and it is in shambles. The safety, security, and peace in Manipur. I think it's going to take a long, long time to come. But I think first and foremost, we should set our own house in order, have very good seamless synergy, flow of information rather than work in silos. Again, I always say, and I would like to also comment upon what Brigadier Gupta was saying. If you're posting somebody at the borders, we also have a critical borders and the not so critical borders, and within the country, different postings. But if I'm posting somebody at the western border, well, he needs to be a person who's absolutely battle hardened, a good leader, and all. I would definitely not like to have a different person in peace times and a different person in the battle time, because yes, you are to be ready for a battle which can come in any time, and the other party, the not so friendly neighbors, choose their time, place, location. So I think we need to have good team leaders and good people at the top. If it's a border LOC, line of control, and BSF and army are staying together in one location, I think we should ensure that the BSF and the army people pull along very well in time, in good times and bad, in all kinds of weather situations. They should be pulling along well. I do not need a person from my side who scores a century and doesn't play well at all with the army team. So my take is, let's set our own house in order. Have kind of there is no dearth of people, I can assure you, Amit. The kind of a raw material that you're getting in civil services. Get me one top-notch university in India, engineering, medical university, India or abroad, for which you don't have officers in the services of IAS, IPS, and others. It is only that you're not able to tap their talent and put them in the right place with the right kind of responsibility. The raw material is top class. Why does it get sidelined? Why does it lose interest over a period of time? That is something that the environment, either it's not supporting or it doesn't want to listen to the right man. And that is what I think is an issue. There's no dearth of talent in this country, whether you talk about loitering munitions and the precision munitions that you saw in Sindoor, and there's no dearth of people in this country. It's only a question of being able to tap and at times listen to the right kind of voice. It may not be very good to hear, but you need to hear that bit in the interest of the country. Thank you.
No, I just probably like we have the integration of services leadership in the form of a CDS. Anil Chauhan leads the show. Today, Rawat Saab was there as the first CDS. There must have been some reason behind it, why the integration happened. For the CAPF, we have ITBP handling, the Arunachal area, SSB for the Nepal. We've got something like the BSF for the Bangladesh, Assam Rifles for the Myanmar. We've got BSF for the Bangladesh region. So all this, kind of things for borders which are so close, 4,000, 6,000 kilometers of border in the northeast, and we've got 4 or 5 different CAPF forces. Is it not worthwhile thinking or giving it a thought of integrating those services so that the leadership becomes more, kind of cohesive, and the resultant kind of security issues which probably are being worked on in silos in these various boundaries of this country in the northeastern region taken care of in a much more vehement or a much more solitary, in a much more cohesive.
Two things as far as putting a person in place is concerned, and the policy aspect. I think as far as the latter is concerned, 22nd of September 2006, the Supreme Court has already talked of a National Security Commission. Somebody talked about police reforms. Very little has been done, but a major part is left unattended. Thus, Supreme Court 2006, almost 20 years back, talked about a National Security Commission, which is to look into all these vital aspects. We have still not put one in place. And I think if we have not put a National Security Commission in place, the talk of one unified person who will head or collate, coordinate all the efforts of CAPFs, that will be the next step. So I think the policy level, Supreme Court's directions are there, and we have not complied with for the last 20 years. It by and large amounts to contempt, but we have not done it. The directions exist on paper.
So important points coming out slowly because I don't want to push things. This is a informal kind of a gathering. Mukesh Khetrapalji, the brother of,
Yes, sir.
the 71 war was not, what India has been used to, since 47. It was a different war. It had political ramifications, internally as well as externally. Your brother sacrificed his life. He is a Paramveer Chakra Vijeta winner. The highest honor in wartime is Paramveer Chakra. Now it is equivalent to a Bharat Ratna for all of us. Now, what were your learnings from that period of 71? Because I also have been privy to discussions with people who've been part of that era of 71. Brigadier Apte is one of the leaders of that 71 war. Sukumar Sen, the radio controller, Major General Krishnamurthy, who was there with General Saab, who's the Deputy Army Chief, who signed the agreement, with Niazi. All these people have discussed with. But from your mouth, what was your experience during those 70, 71, 72 times when your brother laid down his life for the nation?
Thank you, Amitji. A lot of relevant points have been raised. A lot of good suggestions have been made. I am not quite the right person to make a comment on, the rightness of the direction in which we're going. I can only say that, my brother died young. He was only 21 years of age and only recently commissioned less than 6 months. What my message is that, it's the people that make the difference. I'm a civilian. My father was an army officer. But the fact is that armies are led by leaders, and India has got no dearth of the quality of leadership that they bestow on the young officers, and fine institutions like the NDA and IMA have significantly contributed to that. My only other, 71 was, of course, a war where we liberated Bangladesh.
Mukeshji,
And my brother died
just a small interjection.
in battle.
Not only the
Yes,
NDA
sir.
and the IMA, but also AWES, RIMC. These are all institutions.
That's right.
KVS.
Yes. The OTS, and all these fine institutions have, created some very fine officers have come out, and gone through, the rigor of training that all these, privileged institutes have been able to bring about. So that is, I think, the core backbone of our country and the armed forces. Of course, my only comment, being a civilian, is that it looks to me that the type of warfare has changed significantly. We've got the Russia-Ukraine situation. We've seen that. Op.Sindoor itself, how we fought, let's say, it was a conflict, maybe not a war, but without entering the enemy territory, we were able to, take the right kind of action. But this shows that how, drone technology and various kinds of, technologies are there. We, of course, were able to, and India has got a fine team of people, and our focus of indigenization has perhaps helped us. But I still think there is a long, long way to go. So I'm sure there are very illustrious people sitting on this forum, and perhaps they will be the right people to comment on it.
You grew
But
up.
somewhere
You
down
grew
the
up with
line,
Arun. You grew up with Arunji. You grew up with him as your younger brother. Uh,
yes,
there are these youngsters who are sitting here. Still there with us. They've had the patience to listen to such wonderful gathering. You told me one day, despite your father being and your parents being totally taken aback, that he squandered off the IIT opportunity in the late 60s. That time an IIT seat would be like, a Kohinoor for any student, and he opted for an army career. I mean, what was the psyche behind this? The kids would like to know.
no, absolutely right, Ramanji. See, my father was in the Corps of Engineers in the army, and in those days, parents would decide that what should the next generation do. So my father decided that one son would become an engineer and the other person would join the armed forces. My brother was the more intelligent between me and him, and so therefore it was decided that Arun would join the become the engineer, and I was told that I was fit for the armed forces. So actually, the situation became such that Arun was appeared for the IIT exam, and but my father had told him that, "Beta, IIT is a little tough exam, so as a fallback arrangement, आप NDA का भी तैयारी कर लो." So that's what he did. He The IIT result came out first, and my father was very, very happy. His life's ambition of the eldest son becoming the engineer, and that too from an IIT, was getting fulfilled. But then 10 days later, the NDA result came out. Now, I must tell you that Arun, from a very early childhood, was always very keen on the armed forces. And so now he was in a dilemma because he was quite sure that he wanted to join the NDA and not IIT. So the only thing was that how would he convey it to a army officer? And we all know how army officers are. So please tell Papa that I don't want to join IIT. So first my mom tried to convince him, but then when she saw that Arun was resolute in his thing, he says, no. So one day on the dining table, my mother, told my father कि Arun कह रहा है कि जी वो IIT में नहीं जाएगा. So my father looked at him. He says, "What? What rubbish? You know what you're saying? Don't even think about it. NDA तो मुकेश जाएगा." You know what? Very few people get the chance to join a prestigious institute like the IIT, and you're saying you don't want to join?
Yogendra Yadav.
So my father shot down the approach. But then for the next 7 days on the dining table, there was silence because this was the only topic of discussion. My brother kept saying, no, I want to join. My father kept saying, don't be foolish. Finally, at the end of 7 days, my father turned around and says, Acha beta, I don't agree with your decision, but you do what you think is right. And of course, Arun knew very well what he wanted to do. And so he chose that I'm joining NDA. At which point in time, my father turned around and told me, now you become engineer. And then I was fortunate because I did, then go to IIT. But that was that little story about, how a young person, when he saw father, and I'm sure, all the senior officers who are sitting here, they've got children. My father, uniform would be, got ready for the next day. So it's all lying there. And we would take immense amount of pleasure to kind of wear that uniform, take the soti, wear the topi, and that kind of, is the first step of how Arun actually, decided that it was the armed forces for him. So that is the story of my brother when he decided to join the NDA. And then, of course, it's all history of what happened. So,
No,
but
I mean,
I'm sure there are many.
I still have some examples with me, which because we keep researching on these things, there are a lot of good examples. You know, there have been people like Dr. Shrikant Jichka with 35 degrees, the most educated man. There have been people who've got into, IPS, IES, so many things. There are people who got into IIT, then got into the civil services. There have been people also who have joined the army, after having an illustrious academic career or having a great future. There have been people, but your brother's story should definitely incites a lot of confidence in the fact that 14 lakh people applying for a IAS UPSC exam, 6 lakh appearing for it, 3,000 getting a call, 1,000 getting selected, remaining, whether remain or not is a question mark. Army definitely. I read somewhere on the boards, I keep reading such boards, billboards. In the case of Air Force, one board wrote that it is the only, it's the only job which pays you a lot for bringing your target down. So, I mean, these are things which people need to remember all the time. Some questions, 2 or 3 questions at best from the audience, which also includes the people like MRPL company. There are people who could ask a few questions to these great dignitaries. Brigadier Apte, Brigadier Jatar, please have your cameras on because we'll be closing the show in 10 minutes time. And anybody would like to ask any question or no comments. Yeah, probably yes, that you are here with us. You stayed with us for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, is respectful enough. MRPL, AWS, CCI, all these people, great. Thank you so much. But questions, not comments. If any, you may
I
ask
think,
any of these
yeah,
great people.
Amitji, if I may add, all these senior officers who are here on this forum today and more, these are the people that have sowed the seeds of, the position of the armed forces in the minds of the civilians. And I think it goes without saying that the armed forces is perhaps the most respected profession from all the other professions that people follow in the India context. So actually, a big salute to the senior officers sitting here and all those who are not here and might be listening to this.
Let me use this opportunity because when we started this forum, General VK Singh, he is the man. He is the man who, along with Lieutenant General Vishnu Chaturvedi, these are 2 people who were the inspiration, who were the guiding line. Today he's the governor of Mizoram. General Chaturvedi is somebody because of which personally I am always, then there is Dr. Prakash, Mr. Prakash Singh, the father of police reforms. He's almost like a father to me. These are the kind of people. Brigadier Ajit Apte. He is the man. I mean, I can't salute him with one hand. I need to salute him with both the hands. Apteji, it is because of people like you, the nation, is free today. We breathe free air. And civilians should know what freedom means. If you go to the washroom, to the lavatory, and there are 3 people standing outside waiting for you to come out in 3 minutes, you would know what freedom means. If you're not allowed to go to the lavatory free, you'll know what freedom means. And it is, if your women are not allowed to walk with their heads held high on the roads, you will know when you're walking with your sister, with your wife, with your mother on the roads of India, and you know that somebody can do anything to you. You are at the mercy of some foreign alien forces. You would know what freedom means to you. And that is what the service is. Still, despite 150 crore people, political problems, democracy, one of the biggest problems according to me. Despite all that, the forces are responsible for where we are today. We can breathe fresh, free air. Questions, 3 questions. Brigadier Apteji, Brigadier Jatar, Pankaj Singh ji, Deputy NSA, Abhay Gupta, 2611. Operations Chief, I mean, what has he not seen? I've seen that photograph of his, instructing Sandeep Krishnan before he went upstairs. And the movies people know, but people do not know about Abhay Gupta. Ratan Tata knew about him very well, because he was the one strategizing with Ratan Tata at the center of the lobby on that fateful week, when, all these things were happening in Mumbai. Questions? Number one, anybody? First question, to whom?
Can I just come in for a few seconds?
Brigadier Apte, please, sir.
Yeah, no, I wish to acknowledge this is the first time I'm meeting or seeing Mr. Mukesh Khetrapal. Mukesh, your brother was a year my junior. Oxford student, I was junior student. I also was 27th Oxford student, killed in action on the first day of the 71 war. He was fighting on the Western Front, like a pilot, newly married. I was fighting on the Eastern Front. But your brother was an outstanding person. Let me pay tribute to him in front of this huge gathering, to none less than but to you, his brother. I salute your brother, and he was a great man, richly deserved Paramveer Chakra. I know his regiment, 17 horse, and salute to you, your very respected parents. And I think it's great pleasure seeing you here. So my salute and tribute to your brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brigadier Sahib. Thank you for this.
I will be sharing the coordinates of both of you so that you can add value to this nation. Anybody from AWES? Anyone? Any issues you would like to raise with these great people, including the deputy NSS sitting in front of you? I guess no one. MRPL? No questions, nothing, no observations. Convey our regards to Kamath Saab. MRPL is a gem in the country's economy. Thank you so much for joining. Jai Hind to all of you. Thank you to all of you. See you all again. Jai Hind, Jai Kargil Divas. Thank you.
Jai Hind. Thank you very much. Thank you.